Alex Bouks, Immolation, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Oh, anytime. And dude, I was lucky enough to see you guys live at Brutal Assault last year. Me and Bobby from Possessed were standing out in the crowd, and that was the heaviest thing I think I've ever heard in my life. And dude, it was so great to see you guys. And what was that show like for you guys? You guys had some technical difficulties there, if you remember, but like that was crushing, man. Like it really was.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Brutal Assault played there many times, and it's definitely one of our favorite festivals to play. And thank you for the nice compliment as well. But there was, I think it was like, luckily it happened like in between the song, I think, if I remember correctly. Having some issues with power or something like that. So, but other than that, it was a great show.
Yeah, it was really cool. We Bobby and I were crawling, we like went around the fence on the side, and we're trying to like parkour back to your guys' stage, and there was lots of cables running around, and Bobby's like, "Man, I hope we didn't plug something," because it was funny because like the music stopped and we were like going through there, and we're like, "Oh, dude, like what happened?" But it was just kind of comical to how it all worked out. But man, that was crushing show. And did you guys tour when you were over there, or was it just like just festivals when you guys were there last time?
That was just festivals. Yeah, that's all that was. Yep, it was just a festival run.
That's cool, man. And Immolation, dude, your guys' last album came out a couple years ago. Do you guys have any plans for anything in the future?
Yeah, we're working on new stuff right now, actually. So hopefully we get in the studio soon enough. We just got to get the songs written, and there's a lot of riffs and stuff like that. So, Bob's working on stuff. I'm working on stuff. And so hopefully we get in there soon. And I'm sure the label will be happy too. Because, they're like, all right, guys, when's a new record? So, but it's in the works. So
that's rad, man. And I was a fan of your guys's. The last record was great. And so I'm really looking forward to the next thing. And you guys just seem to get more heavy and more crushing as time goes on. And it's one thing I got to say, too, that I was super surprised, because I think I saw you guys at Alcatraz, too, is I like that your guys' sound is dry. Like it's dry. It's just like super heavy, super crushing. Like it just cuts so well, too. And I don't know what tuning do you guys use. What do you tune to?
We're tuned to C standard, and we're pretty much straight into the amp. We actually don't use that much gain, for me and Bob on our amps. And I'm a I have to say tone is in the fingers, and good quality tube amp and quality instrument, the fingers, and that's all you need. And especially for the stuff we do, it's a lot of chords and things like that. So if you got tons of gain on there, it's going to lose the articulation of everything. So I appreciate you saying that. And it's pretty straightforward. Not too much technical stuff going on as far as like effects and things like that, aside from maybe some leads and stuff like that.
Yeah, man. And like I said, super dry. And like you pointed out too, it's like minimal gain. And so like it really cuts, especially like when you're talking about the definition, the articulation in the chords. So man, it really does sound massive. And Alex, you've been playing guitar for a while now. What was your musical journey like? Like, who was the dude that really got you into playing guitar?
Well, I started playing guitar maybe 1985, I guess, and I started playing in bands in 1986. But I have to say it goes back to like, my father playing me records like Jimi Hendrix and stuff like that. But my first concert was Queen in 1977, and that was actually a pretty life-changing moment for me. And just seeing those guys and Brian May, of course, but yeah, if I have to say one, there's so many guitar players. Most of my favorite guitar players are the guys from the 70s, but I'd have to say, Eddie Van Halen is probably my number one guy. I love Tony Iommi, Randy Rhoads, Uli John Roth, Michael Denner, Hank Sherman, James Hetfield. I can go on and on. Yeah, probably Eddie would be my number one guy. That's for sure.
And I think everybody feels that way. I don't care if you play country or bluegrass or brutal death metal. Like Eddie Van Halen's just like he's on everybody's list of awesome guitar players, man, for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean he's the full package as far as I'm concerned because it's not just his leads, it's his rhythm playing, it's his songwriting and his tone, everything. He's the full package, and and he always gets kind of credited as far as like the shred guy and all this kind of stuff, but he did a lot for guitar, not just for amps as well. I mean, there's a lot of things that he came across just in his search, for tone and that he developed over the years and but I mean, but there's I can go on and on and on. I mean, a lot of the classic guys, Blackmore, Michael Schenker is another one. He's like top 3 guy, and there's so many players, and or Piggy from Voivod later on, and people like that. They made a really big impact on me.
Oh yeah, dude! Like especially like when all that music was new back then too, getting to hear it when it was just released and stuff, because that must have been like crazy. Going, whoa, how is this even possible? And like, so how do you go from how do you go from like that stuff getting into death metal, dude? Because I've noticed that you were a member of Gorephibia, and you guys, that band had started relatively in the beginning of like, of death metal, like in the really early 90s, late 80s. So how was your progression into death metal? And like, how do you keep it like fresh after being a part of it for so many years?
Well, Gorephibia, we were, I guess, one of the first bands as far as in the East Coast, us, Immolation, Incantation a little bit later, and bands like that. But at the time, death metal was definitely a term, but it wasn't like it wasn't fully developed. Obviously I have to credit Possessed as probably the first death metal band. I still really consider them the absolute first band, to kind of make that sound. And obviously early Death and early Morbid Angel, bands like that. Necrophagia, actually, the demos, the first Necrophagia record was early Sepultura, Morbid Vision, stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think we just, we just kind of had a vision, and we wanted to create the kind of music we weren't really hearing, because I think, by the late 80s, a lot of the thrash bands started to kind of get watered down a bit, and and we wanted to bring more darker element to the music, more aggressive, and that also the atmosphere, not just the heaviness and the brutality. And like I would consider that one of the main ingredients is just the darkness in the music, and I mean, it was just, I guess, like an evolution of things. I could probably speak for the guys that were there in the beginning, that we really didn't. We were just trying to create what we wanted to hear. We weren't trying to copy anybody or anything like that. Never been interested in that, So, but yeah, it was exciting for sure, in the 80s,
Yeah, man. Like, and I noticed that you're wearing a Celtic Frost t-shirt. So, and I listened to some Gorephibia, and you guys do have some like black metal influence, like especially on a Mortal Repulsion. I can't remember what the single was, but I had just recently actually listened to that, and I was watching the video, and I was like, this is pretty killer. And I can hear kind of some of the black metal tinge to your guys' music back in the day. And I think like a lot of death metal bands too, it did have some of those influences from like Celtic Frost and stuff, or Bathory and stuff like that.
Well, the beginning of death metal really was, we probably had more in common with black metal, because the way we saw death metal was something dark and evil, menacing sounding. And like I said, not just the heaviness and the brutality, but the atmosphere and the music. It wasn't until probably the 90s that things kind of changed a little bit. There's a lot of bands that were just focused on being brutal, and they kind of lost the darkness in the music. So we just come from that, that schooling, bands like Bathory, Hellhammer, Celtic Frost, the more darker bands, and like the German thrash bands like early Sodom, Creator, Destruction, which were on the darker side of things too. If you listen to the early Creator and Sodom, and like the first Sodom, I would consider black metal. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, that's where we're coming from.
Well, it makes sense too, like, black or, just more evil, darker music, and those obviously, like, those sorts of like ideas are going to make like more, dissonant sounding, more heavy music, heavy, not just in crushing, but like just heavy, like the vibe of it all, if you will. Like, and it makes a lot of sense, like all those German thrash bands like Creator, Pleasure to Kill, like that's one of the best records of all time, man.
Oh, great, totally. Yeah, that was a big influence on me and the other guys as well. It was Pleasure to Kill, without a doubt.
Yeah, dude, and like they're toured with Testament and freaking with Possessed too, so that's going to be a pretty rad tour, man.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I saw that. That's a great package, actually. And it's actually a pretty diverse package too, because all three bands kind of have their own sound and stuff, and I think that's going to be a really big tour for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And like Immolation, are you guys going to be hitting the road this winter at all or anything like that?
Yeah, actually, I think about 3 weeks from now we play Hellfest, and we're doing a couple festivals, and then we're doing a one-off show for Decibel Magazine, which I think it's their 25th anniversary. So it's us and Autopsy in Philly, and then in September we go out with Municipal Waste and Cannibal Corpse in Europe. That's a 4-week tour, and the opening band is a Belgian kind of death thrash band called Schizophrenia. I checked them out, pretty cool stuff. Young band, and yeah, so that's where we're really looking forward to. The Cannibal Corpse guys, of course, are been friends of ours since the beginning. So it's kind of like you're going out with your family, your brothers, and also that's going to be a lot of fun. And we're looking forward to hitting the road with Municipal Waste and oh geez, I just forgot the band's name. Schizophrenia. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. And next year we're already have stuff in the works as far as touring goes. Because we'll have a new record, and so we'll be hitting things pretty hard next year.
Nice, dude. Hopefully you guys do a good run in the States, and I'll be able to see if you guys come to Portland or at least close to that, because it'd be rad to bear witness to the crushing once again, man. Like, and that European tour sounds killer.
Oh yeah, it's going to be killer. That's going to be a crazy tour, So.
And I actually think I just saw the flyer for that one too, like yesterday when I was cruising around the internet. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And I wasn't sure if it was the Decibel thing was like this year or if it was last year. I didn't want to sound like an idiot, sound like a fool.
Yeah, that's I think it's August 31st, the Decibel show, and Albert, the editor of Decibel, is a really good friend of ours, and of course, when he asked us, we're down, anything for Albert. So yeah, that's going to be a cool one. We're actually playing like a special set for that. We're just doing like the first 20 years of the band. So we'll be focusing on, the first couple records pretty much, and pulling out a few songs that haven't been played in maybe 2 decades. So
wow.
So, cool,
Like, I mean, Immolation's been, like you said, around for over 20 years. Like at this, I mean, obviously, I guess the time marches on faster than I want to admit. So like, you know what I mean? So we're 30 years in now, probably, give or take a few. And, that's awesome that you're a part of that band, dude. And like, you've been there for a while now, and you were in Incantation as well. So how did you go from Incantation into Immolation? Like, because that seems like you really added a lot to Immolation coming from that perspective.
Well, myself, Bob and Ross from Immolation, and John McAtee from Incantation, we all known each other since we were teenagers. So that we, kind of started the scene together, and we all kind of came together because we were all like-minded, and at that time, there was a handful of us, playing the kind of music that we were playing, and so it's kind of strange how it turned out, because I never saw myself in playing in other bands, but it was cool. I got to play with my my friends in Incantation, and fast forward, Bob and Russ, two of my best friends. I've known them since 1988, so long time. And so when they asked me, it just made perfect sense. Just our friendship, and also musically, it just, for me, it fit a lot better than Incantation. Like Bob's guitar playing, we're more, have more in common, as players, and how we see the music, and so it just made sense to do it. So yeah, here I am. I don't know, 9 years later, in the band. So
yeah, that's awesome, man. Like, you've been in Immolation for quite a while, and you're in even Incantation. I'm a fan of too, and like, you guys made some really good records. You've been a part of a lot of really killer bands, and that being said, like, how important is it to be like, be friends with the people that you're working with in a musical context? Does it make it easier? Or does it make it harder?
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's what's going to keep a band together, is friendship. Of course, friends fight. Of course, we all do. We all have our disagreements from time to time. But yeah, I mean, it's Bob, Russ, and Steve are they're family. They're my brothers, man. And so yeah, that's what's going to keep a band together. I mean, if you're, I couldn't just play in a band that just being this guy just there that doesn't know the guys or doesn't have anything in common with the guys, and I couldn't be in a situation like that. We have to be friends, and that's what makes a band last, I think, is the friendship. That pretty much kind of comes before even ability sometimes. It's like the guys have to click. It's just not going to work if guys in the band don't click, and there's you trust each other, and like being around each other and things like that. And at the same time, with Immolation, all four of us have a lot of integrity in our musicianship, and going out there playing live, that we have to give it 110% every night, no matter how we feel. And and we have a lot of integrity, just like I said, in our playing as well, that we're going to give it our all, no matter what. So yeah, but yeah, definitely friendship is number one, really.
Absolutely, dude. Because like, you see a lot of bands, and they have guys that are in and out all the time, or people are hired guns. And I've done stuff like that before too. And it's just always kind of seems like there's like a barrier there. And if you're like working together beyond, like actually recording music or writing music together, I think like having a solid foundation, you're going to make better music, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately, there's a lot of bands out there that don't like each other. And I know this. I'll never mention any names, but it's just like, you see it, and sometimes, I know we've done tours, and guys from like the crew or whatever, like, hey man, you guys hang out with each other, man. That's weird. And like, yeah, I mean, that's the way at least we see it. That's how it should be. And I gotta give credit to Ross and Bob. Those two guys. Because they have such a tight bond, that they've kept this thing going after all these years. And that's because of their friendship with each other, and being a team. And yeah, so yeah, we're fortunate with that. Because so much drama that you see, in bands, and it's just like, man, it takes the fun out of everything, and and most importantly, you're supposed to enjoy it, and have fun with it. And if you're not, then what are you doing it for? If you're just doing it for money, then I don't know, man. That's just a miserable place to be in.
Absolutely. Like like if you're going on tour, like you're with these people like 24/7, and it's like for like, a month at a time or longer. And if you can't get along with them, it's going to make it rough. And I mean, like you said, everybody has, disagreements and this and that. But like the one thing I got say about like meeting you guys are really cool people, like down to earth dudes, like all you guys meeting every one of you was, and it was really an honor and it was really cool, man. And I think that it's nice for the fans to hear that you guys are actually friends, because like it's like when Slayer, like Kerry King says, well, I haven't talked to Jeff Henneman since the Raiders were in the freaking Super Bowl. It's like, dude, it's like, what do you mean the guys that are on the dream team don't hang out together on the weekends? It's like it kind of ruins the mystique,
Yeah. I mean, at the same time, I don't know what really went on in the Slayer camp, but it's tough to be in a band too. I mean, it's not easy, and you learn over time that, sometimes it's just like somebody's having a bad day or something, and not to push their buttons, and just learn to step away or not take things, not be so sensitive about everything. And it's easier said than done sometimes, especially when you're stuck together all the time. And then, like for me, when I get off the road, I just want to, see my family and just kind of, take a breather. We all do. We need to do that too sometimes. But but yeah, I mean, yeah, it sucks to hear, like you said, about the Slayer thing, and it's just like, what am I doing this for? And I get it. Like some guys, it's like, oh, I got to pay the bills and all that kind of stuff. But I'd rather just work a regular job and not have to, not be in a situation with a bunch of people I hate, So, but yeah, and Matt, same at you when we met you at I think it was Alcatraz, right? Alcatraz,
yeah.
You're such a nice guy. You helped us out too. You helped Ross out, actually, I think with the strap or something like that, if I remember correctly. And we got to hang out and for a little bit and talk a little shop, learn out about some of the guitars or whatever and stuff. And I love that. Those guys make fun of me in the band because I'm the guitar nerd in the band. It's like, oh, there he is. He found the other fellow guitar nerd to talk to, and so but thank you for that, Matt. That's really nice of you to say that.
Oh, no problem, dude. And like, because you gotta help people out if they need something, and that's what keeps this whole thing going. And just goodwill of doing the right thing and being a good person and being kind, sure, man. Because everybody, like, especially like in situations like that, everybody's tired. Everybody's been on the road or they just landed on a plane, and like you said, people are having a bad day, and sometimes stuff happens. And I think that just being cool to people goes a long way, especially in the music business. Yeah.
And when the way I look at it, I could speak for Steve and Bob and Ross as well, is like when we're on the road, we don't, it's like whether we're the headliner or the opening band or the support band or whatever, like we're all in this thing together, and there's no egos here. We're all here to help each other. And it's a brotherhood, especially in metal music in general. I mean, there's such a family oriented thing about the whole thing, and just being together and helping each other along the way. Somebody needs something, or one of us is there to try and help out. And it's tough being on the road, like you said, things happen. And so it's great when you hear, when you meet nice people like yourself on the road. And yeah, I get what you're saying.
For sure, dude. And like you said, you're a guitar nerd, and I've heard this firsthand. What is your favorite guitar? If you could have one guitar, what would it be, dude? Like whatever, if it's a Telecaster, more power to you. Like what would be your holy grail guitar?
Man, that's a hard. I mean, the guitar I fell in love with, I can tell you, was the Flying V first. And that was because my first Judas Priest record was Unleashed in the East. So KK Downing, holding the V on the front cover, and also Michael Schenker seeing that, and then Randy Rhoads a little bit later and stuff like that. So, but I fell in love with the shape. Really, I just was like, wow, that is just the coolest looking guitar ever. But also I've learned over time that, and I've heard people say, "Oh, it's an uncomfortable guitar," but for me, it's a really super comfortable guitar. Just the the access of the upper frets, and it's actually, especially for aggressive music, that I find it probably the most comfortable guitar to play for, especially fast music and stuff like that. And it makes sense that that became like the iconic heavy metal looking guitar. But yeah, I love the Flying V, but I love different guitars for different reasons. I think you play differently, when you have a different guitar, you write differently. So I I'm an ESP guy, and I love the Eclipse. I love that guitar, especially I use that a lot in the studio. I like Strat shaped guitars as well, and I like SG, SG style guitars, and so I don't know. It's such a hard question to say that. I mean, maybe the V in a certain way, because that's the guitar that really made me fall in love with the instrument. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I could. I don't think I've found it yet, and I've actually asked myself that question. It's like, okay, if you were to get a certain custom guitar, like if you would just had to be stuck with one, like what would you get? And I still haven't come up with the answer to that. But maybe I guess we'll go with the Flying V, because that's what most people know me as playing that shaped guitar.
Yeah, dude. Like, I think I saw you playing one at one show. You were playing the Eclipse. I think the other one you were playing a V. And like, I like V's too, man. And like, they are comfortable. Like the neck sits where you want it to sit when you're like the body's like, I tilt it kind of like not extremely vertical, but yeah, like the metal position, dude. Like that's like home base. And the only reason I switched to playing a Strat style guitar was after traveling a little bit, dude, with those huge Jackson cases or the ESP ones, is even an Anki was kind of, I'm like, dude, like I don't want to, whatever. I'm just lazy, but
I totally get that. And like say if we're going to like South America or places like that, or if it's just like one-off thing, sometimes I'll be like, all right, I'm taking the smaller, like the Strat shaped guitars or the Eclipses or something like that. And the Strat shapes are just such a comfortable guitar, and I got quite a few Strat shaped guitars, and one of my favorite guitars, I have to say, is I have an ESP from the late '80s. It's my actual first ESP. It's an ESP Maverick, and it's like it's turned like cream color now, kind of, because it was white, and it's just such a comfortable guitar. 24 frets, and it's just that's probably one of the most comfortable guitars that I have. So I'm actually in the process of getting it, like bringing it back to life right now. So I don't think it'll hit the road again, but in the studio, that's for sure.
Nice. And you're an active pickup too. Why you like active pickups?
I mean, I love passive pickups, and I'll give you an answer. I use Fishman pickups now, and so for the longest time I used EMGs, and over time, you know how it is as a guitar player, you're tone chasing, and things change. What you like and what you don't like, and one of the things about the EMGs for me was it wasn't the most diverse pickup, and I like the articulation of passive pickup, so by accident I found Fishman pickups because he has two guitars years ago to Europe to keep over there, and it was the Millie signature V that he has, and it had the Fishman pickups in it. So I plugged it in during sound check, and it's just like, wow, so I was looking for this, this an act, like it had the power of an active pickup, but also had the ability to be super diverse and in the articulation, of passive, So the Fishman pickup was basically the type of pickup that I was looking for, and I'm not the best expert to explain to you the engineering behind the Fishman pickups, but they make a lot of different types of pickups, and I'll have the moderns, like with some more high gain, type pickups, and then I have one of my guitars. I have Fishman Classics, which is based on a like a vintage PAF, sound, and I have these other two of my guitars. I have the Will Adler from Lamb of God, his signature pickups, which is actually kind of similar. It's kind of like that, kind of has that high gain, but also has that vintage PAF kind of fine mix in there. And so, yeah, it's trouble. And then the other thing about passive pickups, because they're the winding, it's just like they're never consistent. With the Fishmans, it's like it's consistent. Every pickup's going to sound like the last one, because of the technology that they use to make these pickups, because it's a different thing than the EMGs. So yeah, I mean, but to go, I love passive pickups too. I love that sound, especially like clean sounds, and I love like P90 pickups. I love that dirty, nasty growl that you get out of those things, so there's, and in the end of the day too, it's just like there's no right or wrong. It's just whatever works for you.
Yeah, totally, man. Like, and I think you characterized the Fishman pickups really well. Like, they have like the articulation of a passive pickup, but they have like the fullness and the compression of a active pickup. And I liked Fishmans too. I used them for quite a while, but like, I don't know, man. I guess I'm just a creature of habit. But like I like the EMGs. They just sound a little more compressed to me. But that's just my personal preference. But you mentioned P90 pickups, man. So like, what do you play besides death metal? Like, what else do you like to play? What other styles do you jam on?
I mean, I think I'm a hard rock guy. That's what that's the music I really fell in love with first, was listening to like Sabbath and Purple and Zeppelin and UFO and all these bands, AC/DC. So that's kind of the music that's probably most dear to my heart. And the early, first heavy metal stuff, like new wave British heavy metal, all those bands. That's pretty much my favorite music, So that's probably what I listen to the most. And when I'm at home, I'm working on stuff, and I'm eventually going to put out something more geared to that, for sure, in the future. So, but yeah, I think I'm just a hard rock guy at heart, really, So
Absolutely.
hard rock guy, evil music.
That's kind of like Merciful Fate, like you were referencing those guys earlier, and it's, that's good stuff. I mean, that stands up to the test of time, man. Like, that's
killer. I mean, Fate is just, one of my top 5 bands, like just huge for me. And, you think of, like, some people may not hear it, but when you hear Fate, you'll hear like 70s Scorpions or Michael Schenker in there in the music and stuff like that. And but yeah, I mean, God, man, I'm Michael Benner and Hank Sherman, just like 2 of my favorite guitar players ever. I was fortunate enough to meet Michael Benner years ago. I went to his record store that he owns in Denmark, and he was just the nicest guy ever. And sometimes you don't want to meet your heroes, and you're just like, I don't know what he's going to be like. And he was just, man, the nicest guy ever. And, it was a big moment for me.
That's rad, dude. And like you said, sometimes you meet people and you're like, hopefully they're cool. You don't want to, but then like you do, and they're super nice. It just makes life better. Like you're like, all right, like these guys deserve my fandom. You know what I mean? Like, they're cool people.
Yeah. In fact, that night I saw you at Alcatraz. It was at the end of the night. I met Michael Schenker that night, and he's one of the reasons I play guitar. And so Bob saw him first, and he was just like, and he actually didn't even realize it was him. He was kind of half jokingly with it, because he thought it was a guy that looked like him. So he's like, "Oh, look, Alex, it's Michael Schenker." And I turn over, and I was just like, "Holy shit, it is him!" And I'm not the guy that usually goes up to people, and And that night I was like, fuck it. I'm going, and I don't know exactly what I said to him, but I was in my glory. He was super cool. I got a couple photos with him and stuff. And he was going right on stage too. So I caught him as he was, going on stage. So he was that cool to take a few, 5 minutes of his time and talk to me and take a couple photos. So yeah, there's an example right there. Michael Schenker. I mean, come on, man.
Dude,
You don't get much more iconic than that guy, so.
absolutely not, dude. And that's way cool that he took the time right before he's going on stage, and that's cool. And I think that's like maybe that's like, like positive vibes you're going to play well if you're, go out there, and that's cool, man. And I mean, like you say, it's hard to walk up to people and approach them sometimes because unfortunately in life, it doesn't always work out to be a positive experience. But that's awesome, dude. Like, that's way cool. And what do you think was your favorite show that you've ever played? Like, or the favorite place to play? Like, where is that? I know that's a tough question for you, man, but like, if you could play one show, what one is it?
Man, that is a super tough question. I mean, there's certain places that I've always enjoyed playing. Like, I always love playing in Poland, and just, the people there, they're so warm and they're so into it, just the vibe. And South America is always killer and crazy. And like I said, same thing about the people, just warm people that are so passionate about music. And yeah, I don't know. They're probably, if I make it a tie, I'll say for now. That could change tomorrow, but Poland and South America.
Absolutely, man. I remember I was lucky enough on that Possessed tour where we played a couple places in Poland, and you're right, dude. Like, they are very kind people. We played I think we played Poznan the first night, and before I played, I went up and checked out that really cool World War II memorial, and there's a lot of history over there. I'm a history nerd, so it was really cool to go over there and check all that stuff out. And that's what metal is really cool. Is why metal's cool is because it's about music. And to see people that are passionate about it, and it's awesome. I mean, I think something that we lack here in the States sometimes, unfortunately, is that, this type of music is like inclusive on a scale that, maybe is more or greater than other forms of music.
Yeah. And also I think about, if you compare the Europeans or the Latin America to the States, I think they're a little bit more open-minded too. Like, for instance, like in the festivals, the last time I played Hellfest, the day that we played, it was like Tool, Slayer, Anthrax, Cannibal Corpse, and Leonard Skinner. And I'm a big Skinner fan, and so I was lucky to see Gary before he passed, and so what I'm getting at is the diversity. Like, you'll see classic rock bands and heavy metal bands, death metal, thrash, doom, grind, whatever, new wave, there's, and I think people are just a little bit more well-rounded, where in the States, it's, it's always like, well, you belong to this group or you belong to that group. And, at the end of the day, I like all kinds of music, and I'm a music fan. And I think it's cool when you see diversity sometimes, and it exposes people to other stuff that, they may never heard. And like, I like this, and like, say if it's a heavy band with like a lighter band playing, and somebody that doesn't necessarily listen to the real extreme music, they get exposed to something like that, or vice versa. I don't know if that answers what your question, but but I do like the fact of the diversity too. But metal fans, are definitely the most passionate fans in the world. I think out of any type of music, they're the people that are so dedicated, and also they can get easily irritated too. Like, oh, you betrayed me, with whatever, and oh, this record is not what they wanted, or whatever. And they're also the people that buy the merch, and you don't see that with other genres. People just buying everything and buying records and buying all the T-shirts and whatever, or limited edition box sets or whatever it is. I'm one of those guys, like I know Black Sabbath just put out the Tony Martin era, and I'm just like, I got to get that, I got to have it, for Celtic Frost. I got the box set of that, and it's so well done.
Oh, absolutely, man. Like, and passion's a word to use to describe it for sure, because like this is about like a life. Like, I hate to say the word like lifestyle or anything like that, but it means something to people, man. That's why we're into it, right? And and it's not like
Absolutely.
like there's a million different like pop artists or whatever, but there's like 3 or 4. But when you talk metal, dude, there's like, or hard rock in general too, like rock and roll in general, there's like a million bands. And it's like,
Yeah.
if like you're talking about people hear something never heard before, maybe it's heavy or maybe it's not. It's like Metallica, like anybody that hates on Metallica, like that doesn't make any sense. It's like, yeah, maybe you listen to like the most brutal freaking gore grind or whatever, but dude, like Metallica still rocks, like nothing, come on.
I am a huge Metallica fan, and I discovered them through Kill 'Em All first, but my first record that I bought was Ride the Lightning when it came out. But, Metallica, I mean, come on, man, they changed the game. They did so much for metal, more than, as far as I'm concerned, more than any other band. And just like, who makes, not many bands can make a record like Master of Puppets. I mean, that album is absolute perfection. And I like the last couple of records they did, actually. And it's funny because some of these guys, they try to be so cult and true or whatever, and it's just like, come on, man. You discovered them. How old are you? You're 20 years old, and I've been listening to Metallica for 40, years now, or whatever. And yeah, of course you're not going to like every, there's some of the stuff in the 90s I'm not a big fan of, or whatever, but I think they just, they did what they wanted to do, and not everybody's going to like it all the time. And that just comes with being an artist too. It's just like you go where, because for me, as a player, I'm always trying to outdo what I did before, or just, I'm still searching for, my Master Puppets or Dark Side of the Moon or whatever, I'm trying to make. And your craft takes you on different journeys sometimes, and not everybody's going to like it, and especially a band like Metallica. You know, I mean, it still baffles me to this day, because they were such an underground thing when they came out, and to become the biggest band in the world. That's fucking crazy. It's still nuts.
Absolutely.
Even like Cannibal Corpse, like, they basically the biggest death metal band in the world right now. And it's just, I never would have thought, that my buddies would become that, or actually none of us would even think this music would, be as popular as it is now. There's no way.
Yeah,
So
yeah, 30 years later, man, and here it still is, and you guys are living the dream and creating awesome music, and that's commendable in itself, the longevity of it, and that's a testament to its freaking its quality, man, and why it's cool is because it means something, I think.
well, it's just, we're fortunate, it's an added, you play music for yourself, just like you're trying to create the music that's in your head and express yourself. And it's just an added bonus when somebody likes it, because it's a fool's game to sit there and try to sit there and say, oh, you could think you have the best thing in the world and nobody gives a shit, and so you just, you never know with that. But we're just fortunate that there's people that come out to see the band, and yeah, it's sometimes, it's especially for the guys that were there in the beginning, it's crazy when we, sometimes talk about stuff, and it's just like, holy shit, I can't fucking believe this. This is nuts. Because it was such an underground thing. And like doing when we were all tape traders and stuff like that. Yeah, it's we're all fortunate to be able to do this. Still at our age, and and having more fun with it than ever. Sometimes physically it's a little bit tougher, because your body's not what it used to be. But yeah, I like, for me, I enjoy it more than ever. I feel fortunate to be able to do it. Take it for granted, that's for sure.
Absolutely, dude. Well, Alex, thank you for joining me, dude. I really appreciate it, man. Is there anything you'd like to say before we wrap things up, dude?
Yeah, just look out for us. In a few weeks, we'll be in Europe doing a couple festivals, Hellfest, Scene Extreme, Pit Fest. We're playing like a one-off in Romania. Then we had that one-off show August 31st with Autopsy in Philly for the Decibel anniversary show. And September, we will be in Europe with Cannibal Corpse, Municipal Waste, Schizophrenia. So, but yeah, thank you, Matt, so much. And yeah, look out for some new music too eventually. So.
Awesome, dude. Thank you, Alex, once again, man. You take care of yourself and hopefully see you soon, dude.
Yeah. All right, brother. Be safe, brother.
You too, man. Have a good one.
You too.